Hey, Sydney Brown here. We are back with Chapter 7 of Memoir Mastery, a step-by-step guide to writing your life story. Now, in this, we're going to talk about overcoming writer's block and staying motivated, common reasons for writer's block, strategies for overcoming writer's block, and setting realistic goals. That's a big one. And then the top 10 tips for maintaining motivation and self-discipline. So stay tuned. We're going to jump right in. By the way, if you haven't yet, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to have a lot of great content. Make sure you check back. And in the group description here, you will find a link to a free writers group where you can actually interact with us. Also, please go ahead and comment below and let me know that you've subscribed. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to jump in and answer them as well below. Thanks a lot. We'll see you in the class. All right, so we're going to start section 1 talking about common reasons for writer's block. Now, I promise you, if you've written anything, you've probably had some experience with writer's block. Don't worry, you're not alone. You're not the first, you're not going to be the last, but we are going to take a look at some of the top 10 reasons for getting writer's block and see if we can find a way to kick it to the curb. So number 1, fear of failure. Getting in your own head and being afraid that you're going to screw it up, that it's not going to be good, that people won't like it. Those things are going to plague your mind. You're going to think you suck, but you don't. Even if you're not a solid writer yet, your mind knows your story. So you're not going to suck at your story because it's your story. In fact, you're the only person who can do it right. So you're not going to fail. Don't worry about the details yet. Just start getting it out onto paper. Number 2, perfectionism. Now, this is a lot like the fear of failure because perfectionism is where you have to make it perfect. You have to make just exactly what, all the right grammar, all the right, everything that I'm telling you, everything has to be perfect. But if you don't start somewhere, you'll never get good. You'll never become great. You'll never reach perfection. You probably won't anyway, because perfection is not really ever perfect. But you have to start somewhere. So start. Don't hold yourself back. Number 3, lack of inspiration. Now, this is one of those things that sometimes you just, you can't figure out what to write about. You just don't know. You're not inspired. And it can cause a lot of really major roadblocks for a lot of writers. But finding a writing community and throwing ideas off of each other, looking for like writer prompts and stuff like that, that can help you find some inspiration. Sometimes just literally chatting with someone about something, your mind will start being like, oh yeah, I could write about that. And then you're just instantly inspired. So don't assume that a momentary lack of inspiration means that you have writer's block. It's just a moment. It's just a quiet minute in your head. Embrace that quiet every now and then. But then if it's lasted too long, just go out there and start talking to people. Talk about some ideas, and then things will spur up and you'll get back on track. Number 4, distractions. Distractions really contribute to writer's block in that it's hard to focus if the phone is buzzing, your roommate won't stop talking, your belly's growling, whatever it is. Turn off all the distractions before you sit down, and it's still going to take you a few minutes to get going. But as long as you've got all the distractions gone, it should start flowing for you. Number 5, procrastination. Now, procrastination is another common cause of writer's block for people because you feel like you have all the time in the world. Oh yeah, I need to do this, but I'll do it later because I want to talk to someone right now, or I want to watch a show right now, or I'm just tired. I just want to have a nap right now. And so you think you've got all the time in the world until you don't. And then you're under the gun because then you're basically going to have to do this crappy attempt. I'm trying to buffer my words here, but you're going to do a crappy attempt at rushing through something because you didn't plan ahead, you procrastinated, and you let yourself fill your time with things that didn't matter in the big scheme of your writing. So number 6, burnout. Burnout is one of those things, because writing can be exhausting at times, mentally draining, especially when you're doing a memoir. You could be going through a lot of emotions as you're experiencing and reflecting on the things that you've been through. And it's very real. So if you feel like you're burning out, it's not that. What I would recommend is, just take short breaks, get up and walk away, call a friend, go to lunch, turn on some movie previews. I'll like go to my movie website and I'll just put on some trailers and that'll kind of get my mind going. And I'll be like, oh, that would be a funny book if I did this and this, only this different, or something like that. Just give yourself a good distraction that takes away and replenishes you. Number 7, lack of structure. And as an organized person who used to be extremely disorganized, I can tell you lack of structure is something that haunts a lot of people, because if you don't have a clear plan or a structure for your writing, you're gonna like either be squirrel, or you're never gonna start. You need to start with an outline or have a written plan and a schedule. You don't have to have other people where you're answering to them about your schedule, but answer to yourself about it. And as long as you've got your structure, your plan, and your outline, I believe that you're going to do much better with this. Now, other people, they're called pantsers. Other people might disagree and say that you don't need an outline or you don't need a structured plan, but I suspect that those people probably finish fewer books. I don't know. I'm not making an accusation, but I suspect you can probably create more completed books if you stick to a plan. So lack of structure is no bueno. Number 8, self-doubt. Now, again, we're going kind of back to the beginning where we're talking about fear of failure and stuff, but self-doubt's a little bit different. Fear of failure is more about, what if I fail? But maybe you believe in yourself. But in number 8, we're talking about, you may not know that you're a good writer. You may think, yeah, I can come up with the story, or yeah, I can share my story, and obviously it's mine. So you may think, yeah, I can do this, but I can't do that. I'm no good at this. But the reality is you are good enough. Tell that voice in your head to hush and just keep writing. If you need an editor, if you need, someone to help you cleaning it up afterwards, then that's okay. A lot of people do that. You don't have to be perfect at everything. Just get your story out. People are out there. They will help you get it finished. So don't worry about that part. Number 9, overthinking. Just in life in general, overthinking is a real enemy to a lot of people. But we tend to overthink about things. We make them much more complicated than they need to be. And that creates writer's block in itself. It prevents us from even getting started. You look at this blank paper or blank screen and you're like, oh man, but what if I do this? No, I don't know. What if I do that? And then, but if I do this, then that, then that, then that. and you're just like, all of a sudden you're confused, you're overwhelmed, and you're just like, I can't do this. I just can't do this. And that's overthinking. And again, let's go back to, if you have a plan, if you have an outline, you're not going to be overthinking in that area. Very, very important in my opinion. And then finally, number 10, comparisonitis. You know, comparisonitis, obviously I think it's a made up word, but it's another cause of writer's block. You may feel like, you know, so I'm going to compare myself to this author or this author or that author, you know, if I'm J.K. Rowling's, or if I'm, you know, whoever it is. You're not that person. You're not. So stop comparing yourself to them. Comparing. Be you, be who you are, and let them compare themselves to you after you've hit your bestseller. You may never have a bestseller. You may only share your story with one person, a handful of people, but you need to get that story out of you, and you need to start somewhere. So whether your goal is, you know, to stay close and share it only with those special people to you, or if it's to be a bestseller that you share with the entire world in multiple languages, you know, either way, that's fine. But stop comparing yourself to everybody else, because all that really matters is it's your story, you're telling it, and you're the only one who can truly tell your story the best. All right, so going back through, remember, writer's block is a common challenge. Identifying why you're stopping your writing is your first step to fixing it. So take a deep breath. Let's get those creative juices flowing and get out there. All right, now we're going to move on into strategies for overcoming writer's block. Now, we kind of alluded to some of them in the first section, but we're going to go just a little bit more toward overcoming. So, you know, it really is, it's just almost inevitable that you're not going to ever get writer's block. You are going to struggle with it at some point. So don't worry, we got you covered. Top 10 strategies for overcoming writer's block. Now let's dive right in. Number one, and this is going to seem like one of those things that's either just seems so trivial or something you're not going to believe it will work, but it should. Write every day. If you're in a habit of writing, your body, you've trained yourself. You've taught your mind and your body self-discipline. If you write every day, even if it's just 5-10 minutes, at least 5 minutes, get in that habit of doing it every single day, and your body and your mind will stop, you know, having that squirrel syndrome, and it'll just say, okay, so let's just do this. You teach yourself how you're going to allow yourself to behave. So writing every day will train you. You know, this is part of what it is to be writing a memoir. And you're gonna sit down with yourself and you're gonna write something, period. Anything, just do it. That's number one. Number two, on the flip side of that, if your mind is just melting, you know, and sometimes you'll get there. If it's just melting, just get up and take a break. Now, that's not saying for days on end. It's saying for minutes on end. You know, take a break, relax, just unwind yourself. You know, go for a walk, read a book, watch a movie, take a nap, you know, whatever it is, give your brain a break and a chance to recharge. Number three, change your environment. Now, by changing your room or, you know, going outside, just typing somewhere you don't always type. Your mind is a little less in the comfort zone, and it's a little more alert. It's a little more like, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? And just that change of environment can help you get going and get the juices flowing again. You can take your iPad out with you to an outdoor shopping center or a park, anything like that. Just change your environment. It's quick, it's easy, and some fresh air doesn't hurt. Number 4, write something else. Now, this is going to seem kind of counterproductive because you really want to get through your memoir, right? That's your goal. Your goal is the memoir. But if it becomes a job instead of something that you want to do, then that's a problem. So if you start getting stuck in that mindset, like this is a job, I have to do it, I don't want to do this anymore, but now I'm this far in, I have to get it done. Don't do that to yourself. Let yourself take a break, whether it's a 1 day, a 1 week, however long it has to be. If you need to, if you've gone through some heavy stuff and you need to step away for a month or two, do what you need to do to take care of you, but get back to it. Don't let yourself leave for too long. But when you take a break from your memoir, at least keep writing every day. It just can be about anything, journal and talk about your day, and do anything, but keep writing something every day. Number 5. So set small goals. Writing a memoir about a major point in your life is a pretty big undertaking. Don't make it into something trivial. It is a big undertaking. So what you need to do is, say you're going to give yourself a year to do it. You can do it in probably, a month or less, honestly. But give yourself a year, unless you already have the experience, and say, okay, so I'm going to write 10 chapters over the course of a year. So break it into small chunks and say, in month 1, I'm going to come up with my focus, the whole story. Then in month 2, I'm going to create an outline. In month 3, I'm starting the drafting. I'm going into actually creating. And so each month you have your smaller goal. Then take it down even smaller. So in that first month, say you're coming up with your focus, break that down by week. How are you going to break down figuring out your focus? So you would be doing the brainstorming, the mind mapping, and different things like that. So with that, you've got week 1. My goal for week 1 is mind mapping my teenage years. Now, obviously, that's not your assignment, but I'm just throwing that out. That's a good assignment for 1 week. And in 1 week, of course, you can come up with enough time and enough clarity and enough focus to do that mind mapping of just your teenage years. You can do that. You can absolutely do that. When you have a small goal, if you want to, you could break it down to daily, but you don't have to go any smaller than that. Let yourself have a little bit of freedom to bob and weave as your mood and your clarity and motivation and inspiration dictates. But those smaller goals will get you to the finish line much, much faster, much easier than saying, I'm going to sit down and write a personal memoir. Because that's overwhelming. That can be intimidating. Small goals is the answer. Number 6, use prompts. Now, one of the reasons in the I Remember When memoir program that I have, I provide my clients with writing prompts. Every day we give you different writing prompts that will help you figure out, what was your first job promotion? What was the first time someone broke your heart? Different things like that. We base it kind of toward your life, so it will hopefully trigger a thought. And using those prompts will help you. You just answer that question, and that question may not have anything to do with what you think you want to write about, but it actually might help you organize your thoughts of what you actually do want to write about, because you're like, "Ooh, yeah, I forgot about this." And then you suddenly you spur this energy, this inspiration to go start writing again. So use prompts. They really are a lifesaver for a lot of writers. Number 7, free write. Now, free writing is a technique where you just write without stopping, and it may be just total gibberish. You got to give yourself at least 10, 15 minutes. You can do longer than that, but truly, if you think of your big picture and you sit down to just free write, okay, I want to talk about the teenage years. That's all I know. I don't know anything else. So when I was 13, I swam a lot. Then when I was 14, I graduated junior high and went to high school. When I was 14 in the summer, I got a job at an amusement park. Oh, yeah, actually, it was that summer that life really started changing for me. It was that summer that I started hanging out with older people and really came out of my shell, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, it was that summer. That's the summer, and of course, whatever your story is, you have to start somewhere in here to untap all of the memories that are in there. Your memories, you've got a lot in your head. You've got a lot of memories, and there's a lot of stories that you can tell. So you just got to kind of free write your way through until one of them triggers what your big goal is. And you're like, oh yeah, this is it. And then boom, you can outline your whole thing in, literally 10, 15 minutes once that inspiration hits you. So free writing is really, really a strong tool to use. Number 8, talk it out. I've talked about this a little bit before, but being in a writing group with other people, or just talking to friends or family, talking it out will somehow, you think you want to go this way, and then they'll say, well, you said you swam a lot. What about, did you ever swim on a swim team? And you could be like, oh no, I didn't swim like that. Just that conversation back and forth. They'll say, well, what did you do? Where did you swim? Well, I swam down on the lake in Southwest Missouri. And through that, then all of a sudden memories start coming back of, swimming underwater in the lake and opening your eyes in that green water and looking, and there's a fish looking right back at you. That's a funny memory. And that could be a great way. You just type out, swimming down at the boat dock, opening eyes underwater and seeing a fish. Put those things in notes, and then you can elaborate on it. So just talking these things out with people really help you know, and help you at least come up with another, a jump off point. Number 9, read. So reading is what got us here, right? You don't usually want to write if you don't like, at least on some level, to read, or stories. Some people don't like to read. It might actually give them headaches or whatever, or they don't have the attention span for it, but they like the stories. So sometimes you may want, if you have ADHD or something like that, because surprisingly, a lot of writers, a lot of very creative people have ADHD, and there's no reason why you can't be a writer. So just jump in there, read what you can, watch some TV, watch movies, and just kind of get your brain working in a different direction, a different way. And once you take the pressure off your brain, then things will usually unblock for you. And then finally, 10, give yourself permission to write badly. Don't expect perfection. Know that your first draft will likely suck as far as writing goes. What matters is that first draft, that you've poured your stories out, and everything that has meant anything to you to get to that story that you're going toward. That's the whole purpose of that first draft. It's not about knowing where the periods go, inside or outside of the quotes. That doesn't matter as much. I mean, if you're like, you already know it and you type it with it, then that's perfect. That's great. But don't put that pressure on you. Don't even think about that. Give yourself permission to write badly at first. The first draft is literally just that. It's a draft. You revise it, you improve it, you edit, you change, you cut, you add. It's a draft. So don't put that pressure on yourself. So guys, in closing, overcoming writer's block does take time and patience. Try some different strategies. Figure out what works best for you. You will break through anytime you get a writer's block. You'll get back to writing because there's a story in you that needs to come out. So you're not going to stop until it's out, until you release it and you share it. All right, guys, don't give up. You've got this. Okay, so now we're going to talk about setting realistic goals. Whew. Now, depending on your personality, let's just talk straight here. You may think you have realistic goals. You may know that you don't. Sometimes people set the bar way too low because they have no confidence in their skills. They're afraid that, they're not going to crush it, and they want to crush their goals. So they'll set their goals so low that they know they can crush it. And by doing that, it's too low. Then they lose their motivation because they're bored. Others will set really lofty goals and they totally set themselves up for failure because it's just not humanly realistic. Possible, yes. Realistic, no, for something like that to get done. I have been on both sides of this, and I will tell you, I sit a little bit stronger or a little heavier on the lofty goals. So I often will have to readjust my goals. But let's jump in here. And if you're ready to set some realistic goals, let's start with the top 10 strategies for setting realistic goals. Now, number one, and I think you already know this, is just be specific in your goals. All SMART goals are about being specific. So start there. Don't say, I want to write a memoir in a month, though you could. You absolutely could. You could do it conceivably in a week, but don't unless you know that that's realistic. Don't set that goal. Don't do that to yourself. Instead say, I want to write 500 words a day as I start working through my memories and start my planning. So I'm going to start practicing 500 words a day and going through some writing prompts. That's a really great place to start. Watching this video is a great place to start. Getting through the video in 1 day or 2 days or, whatever it takes for you to get through it. It may be a week, it may be a month. It's about your timing, not anyone else's. So be specific and for yourself. Be realistic. We kind of talked about number 2 already. break it down into smaller chunks. When you're writing a memoir, it can be overwhelming. You're going through a lot of emotions, going back through and reflecting and remembering. The emotions are great, they're empowering, or they're depressing, or maybe you're getting some closure. But there's a lot of emotions going through you as you're doing this. So break your goals down into something that's not overwhelming. Break it into those smaller, more manageable goals, like the weekly goal that we talked about, and set those goals for each chapter or each section rather than trying to write a book all at once and, within a month. Just don't do that to yourself. Don't do it. Number 3, prioritize. With this, making writing a priority, you want to set time aside every day for you to just go through the writing. That's why it's important to set that, the 500 words a day or whatever it is. You'll find that if you start with 500 words a day, sometimes you'll be writing 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 words a day just as it pours out of you. But you don't need to set a lofty goal like that. Just set a realistic goal and prioritize the time to hit that realistic goal. Number 4, create a routine. And again, this is similar to write every day, but by creating a routine, it can help you stay focused and make writing a habit. Now, they say that if you do something for 21 days, it becomes a habit. So like you can change the way you eat, you can change the way you think, whatever. And I am certain that's true. It may not necessarily be nature by 21 days, but over time, it does create a habit. It does change the way you think, the way you operate, and it will happen. But you have to start somewhere, and you have to have the self-discipline to stick with it until it does. For each person, it may be a slightly different time frame, but just create a routine and give yourself that discipline until it's a routine. Number 5, celebrate small successes. Every win is a win worth celebrating. There's going to be things that trip you up, things that break you emotionally a little bit. So celebrate every chance you can. You don't need to celebrate like, a trip to Fiji because you got your outline done. And though you could, if you could, I would love to do that. but find a way to celebrate. If it's a dinner out, if it's lunch with a friend, or buying yourself a new pair of shoes, getting yourself a new computer, whatever it is for you, celebrate small successes on your way to the finish line. And that's one of the things that I always coach my clients is this is a journey, and the journey is something you really need to enjoy. So if it becomes tedious and tiresome and you don't enjoy it, you're doing it wrong. So set your small goals so that you have lots of small successes to celebrate on the way. Number 6, be realistic. Even if you can probably knock out 1,500 words a day, until you have consistently started getting 1,100 words a day, stick with 1,000 words. Whatever the goal is. If you're struggling for 500, don't set your goal for 1,000. Maybe 750. Push yourself a little bit. You always want to push yourself a little bit, but you don't need to push yourself to the point of, this isn't fun anymore. When that happens, you're just setting yourself up for failure. Don't do it. Be realistic. Number 7, give yourself breaks. Now, a break, again, doesn't mean walk away, put everything up and pretend like it never happened, because that's not a break, that's quitting. But give yourself breaks. It can be, again, just a minute or two to take a walk. It could be, a couple hours. It can be a day or two. It can be a week or two. And if you've gone through a lot of emotions, maybe you do need to take a week or two to let yourself, kind of deal with that. It's your timing. You do it as you can, but come back. Always come back. Like I said, if you don't come back, it's quitting. So don't quit. Don't quit yourself. Don't quit your story. Don't quit the people who are waiting on your story. Take a break, but come back. Number 8, measure progress. Now, in my later years, earlier years, I would have never done this, but in my later years, I really learned the value of measuring progress, because if you see, I'm only doing 500 words a day, I'm only doing 500 words a day, I'm only doing 500, you're just like, I suck at this. I'm doing a horrible job. This is horrible. I should just not even be doing this, But then when you look at I'm going to use my math, say at the end of a month, 30 days of 500 words a day. What is that? 15,000? You got 15,000 words. That's definitely a short story. That's well on your way to a really great memoir. It's a big deal. So don't discount those small steps, because they add up and they show big progress as long as you keep at it. So never, ever, ever discount what you've done, but make sure that you're tracking it, because if you don't see it, it doesn't register here. So you need to, what I do, and I don't do it so much anymore, but I have software that I can type in that actually tracks my word count and how many hours and different stuff like that. But you don't need that. Just, look at when you sit down, okay, it's 12 o'clock. I'm going to type for 20 minutes and I'm going to shoot for 500 words. And as long as you hit one of those goals, then you can get up. But what if you're organized, you can either write it in a logbook. I like to use Google Docs, or Google Sheets actually. It's like an Excel sheet, only it's on Google Drive. And I like to do that because it syncs between my tablet, my phone, and my computer. And at any given time, if I sit down to write, I have that shared doc between all of my media, and I'm able to add, okay, I did about 1,800 words in about 28 minutes. You can say 30 minutes, it doesn't have to be precise, but at the end of the month, I drop a formula in there that totals it all up, so I don't have to do the math, and I see, okay, yeah, I did good. I did good. Yay, measure your progress. Number 9, get feedback. This is one of those things that help you stay motivated more than anything. If you're in a writing group, and we do have a writing group, the website will be in the description down below, I guess. But get involved with a writing group, share your work with a friend, or hire a writing coach, which I do have clients. So if you're interested in working one-on-one or looking at one of my programs, by all means, leave a comment below and I will reach out to you. Or you can reach out to me directly through my contact information. But get some feedback as you go, because sometimes if you're out on an island and you think you know what you're doing and it feels kind of right, but you're not really sure, your speed starts to slow down, your confidence starts to linger, and just, it's tough. It's tough to do something completely on your own. Don't do that to yourself. Get in with someone And just, even if the feedback is constructive, which we all know constructive is code for it might sting a little bit. Even if the feedback is constructive, it at least gives you some direction of, okay, yes, I'm doing great on this, but I need to work on this. And then if I do this to change over here, then I can do that. And then once you know that and you feel good about that again, you're reignited, you're re-inspired, and you're like, okay, now, and you'll find that your word count probably will increase considerably just for having that interaction with somebody else. Number 10, don't be afraid to adjust your goals. Now, what I really want to say here is be flexible. You adjust the goals, obviously. If you're not making progress and you just keep going further and further and further in the hole of what you're planning on doing, then adjust your goal. You don't have to stay, well, I started with 1,000 words a day and it's been 6 months and I'm now 433,000 words in the hole. Don't do that to yourself. If you see after even just a few days to a week, give yourself about a week to see if you can make that goal. And if you can't, then drop it down just a little bit. Don't drop it dramatically. See where you are, see what the average is, and then add just a little bit, whether it's time or word count, whatever you want to do. Just make it a little bit of a reach. On the other side, if your goal is 500 words and you're knocking out 1,000 and you're just like woo, 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 bump that up a little bit. Don't linger with a 500 word goal if you're totally doing 1,000 every single day, or most days even. So bump it up to like 1,200. Don't just go to 1,000. You're already doing 1,000. Bump it up a little bit. So set your goal to something that is a little bit of a stretch. Stretching is good. Getting out of your comfort zone is good. Just don't leave it in a stagnant position. Your goals should inspire you, they should drive you, and they should help you get your story out. So remember, setting those realistic goals is super important. Otherwise, you may not finish your memoir. I want you to finish that. And I am determined, if you plug in with me, whether it's here through the videos or in the free writers group, or you join one of my programs, whatever it is, I want your success. I really want your success. I want to see your story. I want to know what it is. I want to know what drives you. And so let's get you going. All right, let's go. You've got this. All right, so we are now on the final section of this chapter, and we're going to talk about the top 10 tips for maintaining motivation and self-discipline. So if you're struggling to maintain motivation or self-discipline when you're writing your memoir, don't worry, we've got you covered. The top 10 strategies for staying motivated and disciplined are right here. Number 1, setting realistic goals. Now, we've kind of talked about this already, but it is super important, not only to keeping your motivation, but also to structuring your self-discipline. Because if you have a realistic goal, you need to meet it. You need to, period. Okay? Set something and then hold yourself accountable. It has to be realistic though, because if it's not realistic, you're going to either overachieve and not have anything to drive forward with, or you're going to underachieve and feel miserable about yourself. Realistic goals are number 1. Number 2, create a routine. Again, whether it's writing daily, 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, an hour a day, whatever works for you, whatever time you have that you want to dedicate, this is up to you. You make the rules, but set your routine and stick to it. Make that writing a habit. Find the time, find the location, find the distraction-free area, and write every day and stick to it. Number 3, eliminating distractions. I kind of already hinted about that, but get rid of those distractions. Put your phone on silent, close your email, turn off the notifications, find a quiet place and write. Whether you handwrite or whether you type, it's up to you, but get rid of your distractions. Number 4, and I think I said this a little bit a couple seconds ago too, hold yourself accountable. You're the boss of you. This isn't something that you have to answer to anybody else about. This is your story, your memoir. You decide how hard you work on it or how little you work on it, but whatever you decide to do, hold yourself accountable. Make sure you do it. Track it and make sure you're making progress as you plan. That way you stay motivated and on track. Number 5, take breaks. Breaks are good. There's nothing wrong with them. It's truly, your mind can only go so long. It's like a body without water will die. A mind that only thinks about one thing is not healthy. So don't do that to yourself. A lot of us have this tendency to be obsessive. That's okay, but be obsessive about a couple other things too, so that you don't get so one-sided that everything emotionally goes into that one thing. Now, it is super important that you have that one thing, but take breaks, allow yourself some downtime, allow yourself to step away. It's for you. You're going to appreciate your goodness and your self-care there. Number 6, find inspiration. Now, again, when you want to stay motivated, you need inspiration. Now, that motivation and inspiration comes from somewhere in your story, in your mind, in your heart, but it also is going to come from reading other books in your genre, listening to podcasts, taking a walk, and just going through your thoughts of your story. You know, whatever it is, find your inspiration and know that that inspiration source is likely to diversify or change as you keep digging in. Don't look for just one form of inspiration. Make sure that you keep an open mind and you allow that inspiration to come from whatever direction it's going to come from. Number 7, join a writing group. I'm not joking. When you're in a writing group and you're actually throwing ideas around or supporting each other, even if you're just chatting about, what you may have in common, finding those commonalities is something that really can just boom, ignite this brand new inspiration. So find a writing group. We have one in the group below, or in the description below. Don't hesitate to come in, pop in, say hi. And it is a free writing group. Don't worry about any obligation. We're not going to twist arms or anything like that. I just want you to come in and have somewhere where you can, throw out your ideas, ask for some help. Also, leave your comments below, and we will also come in here as often as possible and leave some responses too. Number 8, celebrate small successes. Your successes matter. So celebrate the small successes along the way. Maybe you finish a chapter or you hit a word count goal, whatever it is, just celebrate it. And it doesn't have to be a big celebration, like I said, but acknowledge what you've done and be proud of yourself. That's a good thing. Number 9, visualize success. Now, whether it's visualizing being done with it or visualizing getting the emotional healing that you need, or if it's visualizing it becoming a best-selling worldwide, title. Whatever it is that you want, it's different for everybody, but visualize that success and just keep that going, because that will drive you. You want to get there, and once you visualize it, you're going to find that internal inspiration that will help you stay motivated and focused on writing. And then 10, and this is going to be a little bit tough at times, because as you go through a memoir, not all of your life was, unicorns and rainbows. Not all of it was bad. Not all of it was good, but sometimes you may work through a story or a scene or something that is especially emotional. Make sure that you keep a positive mindset through this, because you need to stay motivated. You need to stay disciplined, and going through I'm going to call it a scene, whether it's a memory or it's your whole story. If it's a tough emotional journey that you have to take, just make sure that you break those into smaller chunks, or you prep yourself mentally to know this is going to be emotionally draining, and after that we're going for ice cream. Man, I talk about ice cream a lot, don't I? But just make sure that you know that digging back into your past to release some of this and to reflect on some of the pains, some of that stuff is going to drag you down a little bit. But make sure that you know this is already behind me. I'm not reliving this. I am just reflecting and I'm letting it go. All right. My future's positive. Life is good. Stay positive. Don't let going through this drag you back down. One other thing, as you celebrate your successes, don't be hard on yourself when things don't go as planned. Stay motivated when you can, disciplined as much as possible. And, memoirs can be challenging. They really dig into your emotions because it's your story. It's something that happened for real. It's not fiction. It's not made up. You need to understand that this is going to be emotional, and that's okay. You can focus yourself on, for every negative thing or everything that drains you. Also remember something that reignited your happiness or your joy. And it maybe that won't go in the story because maybe it doesn't have anything to do with it. But just remind yourself you had the good times too. All right. So stay focused, stay disciplined, and let's do this. I know you can do this. All right. You got this.